Krishna, everyone. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Gopi Janavalapa Kirivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Janavalapa Kirivaradhari. Yashodanandana Prajajanaranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajanaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavalapa Kirivaradhari. Gopi Janavalapa Kirivaradhari. Yashodanandana Prajajanaranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajanaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Vishnu Paraya Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtotara Shri Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Para Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Yamuna Maya Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Caitanya Ki Jai. Brihat Madanga Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, everyone. So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 13, text 45. And the chapter is entitled The Appearance of Lord Varaha. So we'll do Sanskrit. Savai bata brashta matista vaishate ya karmanam paramapa karmanaha yat yogamaya gunayoga mohitam Vishvam samastam bhagavan vidhehisham Savai bata brashta matista tavaishate Ya karmanam paramapa karmanaha Yat yogamaya gunayoga mohitam Vishvam samastam bhagavam vidhehisham Savai bata prashta matista vaishate Ya karmanam paramapa karmanaha Yat yogamaya gunayoga mohitam Vishvam samastam bhagavam videhisham. Please repeat. Savai vata prashta matista vaishate Ya karmanam aparam Yogamaya gunayoga mohitam Vishvam samastam bhagavan videhisham Savai vata prashta matista vaishate Yakarmanam paramaparakarmanam Yogamaya gunayoga mohitam Vishvam samastam bhagavan Savai vata prashta matista vaishate Yakarmanam paramaparakarmanam Yat yogamaya gunayoga mohitam Vishvam go through the word for word. Saha, he. Sorry. Saha, he. Vai, certainly. Bata, alas. Brashta matihi, nonsense. Tava, your. Eshate, desires. Yaha, one who. Karmanam, of activities. Param, limit. Apara karmanaha, of one who has unlimited activities. Yat, by whom. Yoga, mystic power. Maya, potency. Guna, modes of material nature. Yoga, mystic power. Mohitam, bewildered. Vishvam, the universe. Samastam, in total. Bhagavan, O Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vidhehi, just be pleased to bestow. Sham, good fortune. So now I read the translation. O Lord, there is no limit to your wonderful activities. Anyone who desires to know the limit of your activities is certainly nonsensical. Everyone in this world is conditioned by the powerful mystic potencies. Please bestow your causeless mercy upon these conditioned souls. Please repeat. O Lord, there is no limit to your wonderful activities. Anyone who desires to know the limit of your activities is certainly nonsensical. Everyone in this world is conditioned by the powerful mystic potencies. Please bestow your causeless mercy upon these conditioned souls. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Mental speculators who want to understand the limit of the unlimited are certainly nonsensical. Every one of them is captivated by the external potencies of the Lord. The best thing for them is to surrender unto him, knowing him to be inconceivable, for thus they can receive his causeless mercy. This prayer was offered by the inhabitants of the higher planetary systems, namely the Jana, Tapas, and Satya Lokas, who are far more intelligent and powerful than humans. Vishvam Samastam is very significant here. There are the material world and spiritual world. The sages pray. Both worlds are bewildered by your different energies. Those who are in the spiritual world are absorbed in your loving service, forgetting themselves, and you also. And those in the material world are absorbed in material sense gratification, and therefore also forget you. No one can know you, because you are unlimited. It is best not to try to know you by unnecessary mental speculation. Rather, kindly bless us so that we can worship you with causeless devotional service. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama. Okay, so I just wanted to start off by saying, please be patient with me. It's the first time I'm giving Bhagavatam class, and there's a lot of very qualified devotees here, and I'm not very qualified. I don't feel myself anyway. So we'll get on to and I'm open to any kind of feedback. I want to get better, so please let me know. Okay, so looking at Srila Prabhupada's purport and the translation also, we can see 4 different important sections. One is the Lord's activities have no limits. The second is anyone who tries to understand this limit, anyone who tries to understand his unlimitedness, well, it is futile, and Prabhupada says it's nonsensical. The third is everyone in this universe or world is under the mystic potency of the Supreme Personality. And the fourth is to conquer the Supreme is to surrender unto him. The inhabitants of Jana tapas and satyaloka are asking to receive a benediction from the Supreme Lord for his causeless mercy. So the Lord's potencies are limitless. The Lord himself doesn't even know the limit of them. He is for example, he's captivated by his own beauty because it's ever increasing. If we look at our own face, I mean, me personally, I see that my face is constantly changing. Either a new spot appears or, gray hair. I'm pretty young, but, gray hair. Or a new line appears. And we're all aging, and this is one of the 4 kinds of suffering of the material world. The 4, does anyone know the 4 kinds of suffering of the material world? That, and then birth, death, old age, and disease. Yeah. Plenty of suffering. If anyone is trying to understand that limit, it means that jiva is pursuing an endless path. The path is chosen by the Mayavadis as they're trying to find the unlimited or the unknown. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says to Arjuna, Avajananti mamudha, manosum tanum ashritam, avajananti param bhavam ajananto, mama bhuta maheshwaram. Which means that the fools deride me when I descend into my human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. In the purport of this verse, Srila Prabhupada is saying they do not know Krishna's body as as a symbol of complete knowledge and bliss. And we are only a very limited fragmental part of his energy, and we are in this gross material body under the modes of material nature. So how could we possibly understand something that of a personality that is made up of complete eternality, knowledge, and bliss? And this is what Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing in this particular verse of what we've read today. In relation also to this verse, Krishna says to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, where he recognizes the power of material nature, Mama maya duratyaya. My material energy is very difficult to overcome. And he further elaborates that those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So guna is a Sanskrit word that means rope. And Srila Prabhupada says in the purport of the Bhagavad Gita verse 7.14 that the conditioned soul is tightly tied by the ropes of illusion, and a man bound by his hands and feet cannot escape, and he needs somebody that is unbound to help him out of that situation. So Krishna is saying that only him or his bona fide representative, the spiritual master or spiritual teacher, can release the conditioned soul. It is stated that only Vishnu can give liberation beyond birth and death. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur pointed out that the demons are awarded impersonal liberation in the Brahman effulgence, whereas devotees are given the superior benediction of love of Godhead in the spiritual planets. So what is this? Vishnu is the giver and responds to our desires. The inhabitants of Jana, Tapas, and Satyaloka are offering this prayer, as mentioned in the verse, to the Lord because only He can help us. We read in the purport, the sages are praying for the Lord's blessings because both the worlds and material are bewildered by His different energies. In the spiritual world, those entities are absorbed in His loving service, forgetting themselves in Him also, and those in the material world are absorbed in material sense gratification, and they're forgetting the Lord too. In Bhagavad Gita, it asserts that the Lord has His hands, legs, eyes, and mouths in every nook and corner of His creation. And this means that the expansions of His differentiated parts and parcels, the jivas, or the living entities, are the assisting hands of the Lord, and all of them are meant for rendering a particular service for Him. A conditioned soul, even the post of Lord Brahma, forgets this because of material energy generated by false egoism, and one can counteract that by evoking some God consciousness or Vyavasaya Buddhi is the Sanskrit term. So where does this forgetting propensity come from? In the Bhagavad Gita, there's a very famous verse in chapter 15, verse 15, which says, Krishna is saying that sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha. And he's saying that I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. And it is Lord Krishna's mercy that we can remember anything at all. And certainly we can try to train ourselves to remember something by repetition or some intensive study. But I'm just speaking for myself. I know I've been in many situations where, whether it's a test environment or whether I'm talking to somebody else, that the answer just seems to be on the tip of my tongue when I thought I knew it previously. Or I find myself saying all the time, what was I just saying? You know, I say it constantly. And ultimately, not even a blade of grass moves without the will of the Lord. And everything is mercy. Everything is the Lord's mercy. I'm made of some mercy. You're made of some mercy, and we're carried by it, as His Holiness Caritamrita Maharaj would say. And we came to this material world because we wanted to enjoy separately from Krishna or God. And when we return to the eternal abode, it is only the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, the spiritual master, and the Vaishnavas that help us to get there. Does anyone know the translation to the first verse of Guru Vashtakam? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so nice, you know. The spiritual master is receiving a benediction from the ocean of mercy, and he's extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. He's giving his mercy to us. It's so nice, and this is what Srila Prabhupada is saying. He's asking Krishna to bestow, or Lord Varaha, to bestow his causeless mercy upon these conditioned souls. And I think that's very beautiful. So when I think, where would I be without Srila Prabhupada if he didn't come to the West and share this knowledge? And where would I even be without New Govardhana Dham? You know? It's like, I don't think I'd really be doing anything of value, maybe materially, but it's temporary. It only lasts for so long. And I don't think I'd be very happy. And it also says this in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, Vyavasayat mikha buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahusha kahinantasya buddhayo vyavasayinam, which means that those who are resolute in Krishna consciousness have a purpose and their aim is one. And he's addressing Arjuna, so he says, O beloved child of the Kurus, those who are not on this path, their intelligence is multi-branched. So if we're on this path of Krishna consciousness, we have a process, we have bona fide scriptures, we have a goal. But if we're not on this path, then we are always reaching out for different steps from different recipe books, trying to speculate our own conception of a spiritual process without a bona fide parampara. So then we look at another term, another little verse. Evam parampara praptam. This knowledge has been continuously passed down from the previous acharyas. Similarly, this is just a little pastime, but when Dharma, KG, and I, we went to Sydney, we went to Melbourne for Rath Yatra, and the host family that KG and Dharma were staying with they were South Indian, and Mataji's cooking was divine. And when you asked her, how did you learn how to cook, she said she learned from her family, her mother, her grandmother, all these different recipes, and you could taste the richness of the food, of the history that she came from, and there was a generational process for giving this recipe that she could now deliver, And this is the importance of having received knowledge. And this Krishna consciousness philosophy is the most rich because it is coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, down to our preeminent Shiksha Guru Srila Prabhupada. And this supreme science, Bhakti Yoga, it's inconceivable. There's so much information, so many different shastras. It's so extensive, you know. It's unlimited, and we'll never come to make any kind of sense of it if we don't just follow one recipe. You know, you make a cake, you have to stick to making a cake, otherwise it'll be a bit of a flop. So once we found a recipe, once we found something that we can dedicate ourselves to, and then we have to try to cultivate some sincerity, some determination, enthusiasm, and faith, which are paramount to success in any area of life, but especially spiritual life. So only by the Supreme Lord's mercy, his representatives are allowing us to gauge in his service. And the inhabitants of the higher planetary systems are using this prayer, because without the Supreme Lord's causeless mercy, we have no chance. And this is an example of how one can pray and how one can beg for the Lord's mercy. And there's a song by Yamuna Devi, who was one of Srila Prabhupada's first disciples, and one of my favorite verses is the first verse, and she says, "Thousands, millions of souls are wandering this world for millions of births. Some fortunate ones attain the treasure of devotion, which is like a beautiful blooming vine by the mercy of Guru and Krishna." And so that's all I've actually prepared. So I'd actually really like to hear from you, if you're wanting to share, if you feel comfortable, how you felt the Lord's mercy, or how you felt like something's being arranged for you, if you know what I mean. Like when have you guys personally felt the mercy of the Lord in your life? It can be simple, can be big, can be coming to the farm, can be someone saying something to you in passing that brightens your day that you needed to hear. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share, or any questions? If I can answer them, if not, I'll pass them on to someone more qualified than me.
As you're listening to whatever she was saying and the verse, we all have something going on in our minds. And so whatever came up for you is a relevant reflection. So maybe someone has just a reflection or a question or a confusion, something. Nobody has any?
I just want to share how Krishna has taken my hand like 3 years ago or something.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't that much devotee. I was just came to the temple occasionally, and I didn't really know Srila Prabhupada or anything. I just came to the temple and paid my obeisances, but I just loved it. And then I started going to the temple more, and Krishna's just taken my hand, anything I want to learn more Danga, and then Krishna's helped me go into the ashram, and yeah.
Yeah, so
to
nice.
the Gurukul. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
First of all, I think we can say for everyone, thank you for giving such an amazing, beautiful class, especially for the first time giving class. It was wonderful. My question is how do we relinquish our material attachments to get closer to the lotus feet of the Lord?
How do we relinquish our material attachments? I think this is just my understanding. I'll probably pass it on to somebody else afterwards as well, but I'll just share something. But I think there's a process, and that's why we choose something that resonates with us. That's why we ask questions as well. If you ask questions, you get them answered. nullifies some doubts. And also, like Keshav Maharaj was saying in one of his classes, that a nature of a human being is to always want their doubts like nullified straight away, like an immediate kind of thing. And sometimes if you stick to the process and you try to have some faith and be sincere and you just stick around, you will have your doubts answered. Like I've experienced that. Or like sometimes I'll be thinking about something and it's bothering me, and then I'll like read Srimad Bhagavatam, or I'll read one of the scriptures, and then it's like the first thing that's on the page, and I'm like, what? You know, that's something. But I think it's the process. That's just my understanding.
Thank you for that. What? Well, in terms of getting free from our material attachments, we really, first of all, need to start with what we are attached to. What are we attached to? What gives us joy? I mean, we have attachment because it meets a need. It fulfills some need. It gives us some kind of pleasure. So if there's something that gives us joy, like maybe you're an artist, or maybe you're a musician, or maybe you're a farmer, or maybe you love cows, or maybe whatever it is you do, probably not working in a slaughterhouse, probably not working in a bar. Those are probably two jobs you may not want to do. But the thing is to figure out what gives you joy. What do you love to do? And that you may be attached to doing it. It's perhaps part of your nature. And then, how do we offer that to Krishna? And as we dovetail it, as we offer it to Krishna, those so-called material attachments become purified, and now it becomes devotional service to do that same thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So that's the first task, I would say. What do you really enjoy doing? Obviously, at a certain point, we get purified enough that it doesn't really matter what we do as long as it's for Krishna. That would be your ultimate goal, is that I don't care, just give me some service. But in the beginning, it's really important to dovetail whatever it is we love to do. Otherwise, you'll be frustrated. I remember when I grew up as a pianist. I was a 4-year-old. I played by ear, and so piano was my life. But when I came to the Hare Krishna movement, in our immaturity, the devotees told me, oh, that's not a Vedic instrument. You can't play the piano. So for like 35 years, I didn't play the piano. I used to sneak out of the temple and go down to the piano shop and play. Nobody was looking. And so, at a certain point, I went back to school after 35 years, and I started playing again. And thank goodness I could remember. But that was a false renunciation, So many beautiful things I could have played for Krishna had I been able to play. But in our immaturity, we didn't see that. So I wouldn't encourage anybody to try to artificially renounce a skill, something they love to do, and in the interest of trying to be some, false renunciant. Just be blessed that you have this talent and that Krishna has given you, and use it freely. Yeah. Did anybody have a piggyback on that?
Yeah, it resonates. I'm a bit shy, but yeah, it resonates. What you're saying, because when we're doing something that we love and we do it with joy, because actually he want us living in this joyful and blissful dance, and living as a kids and see everything with this wow effect, with love. So I think that because we're still human and we still like with some limitation, more we push ourselves to go to being close to what we love, and doing also with this joyful, as he played the flutes and always happy and going around and jumping and so I think that every time we live in this statement, we are in the eternal will of God, and we feel
the reality is that what she just said in her class was that our original eternal nature is Satchidananda. All of us. That God is the eternal form of eternal knowledge and bliss. And that word I would use for bliss, because that's not a word we use much in English, would be joy. So at your core, because you're part of Krishna, Krishna is in your heart, if you find out what gives you joy, you're getting close to home in you, right? Not only you have your material nature or conditioned nature, but the fact that it gives you joy is putting you more in alignment with who you authentically are. Does that make sense? You're from another country. Where are you from? France? Italy. I thought you were from France. Okay. But yeah. But that's just what I wanted to say, is that, yes, if it's not joyfully performed, then it's probably not devotional service. Sometimes we perform austerities, but we don't do it with joy. And so then it's probably not devotional service. We're doing some kind of artificial calisthenics or some, stoic something, or it's fruitive karmakandiya. We're trying to get something for something. But, yeah. Anything else about that?
Hare Krishna. I actually have a question about this verse. It says that everyone affected by mystic potencies in this world. I'm not sure if we covered that, but what are the mystic potencies that affecting everyone in this world? Yeah, it's in the verse.
O Lord, there is no limit to your wonderful activities. Anyone who desires to know the limit of your activities is certainly nonsensical. Everyone in this world is conditioned by the powerful mystic potencies. Please bestow your causeless mercy upon these conditioned souls.
I'm not sure I know the answer to that, but when we think of how the world is working, it's pretty mystical when you think how the seasons move. It was summer, now it will be winter, then it will be fall. Who's making that happen? It's inconceivable, actually. We say, oh, yeah, that's the nature is doing that. Who's behind the nature? What is the force that makes it happen? That's pretty mystical, right? It's inconceivable. Yeah, like right before me, I take birth, and then my body grows, and it gets old, and then I maybe reproduce it by having kids, and then now I'm an old person. How did that happen? That's mystical, that process. There's a life force that is generating all the changes, but that's a mystic potency. And so that's how I would answer that, Anton. This notion of, yeah, we are bewildered by it. When you look out at the creation, you just sort of take it for granted. You don't see the awesomeness of what's happening around you. That everything is crafted so perfectly. The sun comes out just right at the right season, and the grass grows, and that you have you're not being burned up by the sun. It's far enough away, and it's mystic. But we don't see it. We don't see, oh, this is Krishna. This is awesome. I don't know how that's happening. So I mean, just think about it. The incredible world we're living in. We just kind of, I gotta mow the lawn. Yeah, I gotta pick those flowers. No, don't think what connected to it. How does this happen? That an Earth planet is floating in space. How has that happened? Who's holding that up? I mean, you got airplanes too, but they have a lot of gas they use for that. So that's what I think.
And yeah, and this is just what's coming to me. And correct me if I'm wrong. I do not mind. But also in the Bhagavad Gita, maybe this is in relation, but in the Bhagavad Gita it also says, prakriti kriyamanani guna karmani prakriti kriyamani guna karmani. Let's have a look. Yeah. Okay. So the translation is that the bewildered spiritual soul, thinks himself the doer of all activities, but in actuality it is the modes of material nature. So I guess, yeah, we think that we're doing something. We think that we're going to water this plant, but the Lord will already water the plant by just like how the weather works. He's controlling everything, and we think that we're the doer, and that's our false ego. And yeah, but in actuality, the Lord just does everything. Everyone in this world is conditioned by the powerful mystic potencies. We think that we're the doer, which is why we're trying to arrange things in something that fits our plan. But yeah, Krishna has his own plan, and we might have a plan, and then all of a sudden, bam, we've moved countries because our situation has changed. For an example, we can't always control things, and sometimes the Supreme Lord, he has his own plan, and over time he's just gonna move us there, and we just have to try to make the right choices, make choices that are gonna bring some more than just some sort of temporary benefit, and make a, try to, yeah. That's just what I was thinking of.
Yes, thank you so much for this answer. The other question I have, this purport, the essence of it says that there is no way we can, through mental speculation, to get to know the Supreme Personality. So therefore, it's not even worth it. So we just want to have blessing of causeless service, the Lord. My question in relation to that, regardless that we spend so much time studying philosophy, and it's been so heavily accented on studying philosophy, and we don't actually study that much how to do service nicely, but we study a lot of Sanskrit, Vedas, and all these mental things. So can you put that in perspective for me? It seems to be contradicting.
This is just what I've heard, but when I've heard that when you're chanting japa, you're talking to Krishna, and when you're reading, Krishna is talking to you. So it helps you, like, if you have some dedicated time to reading, then naturally the mind is going to meditate on what you've read. It's like if you read something in the news that's not so good, you're thinking, oh no, some of your day is being taken up by that. So what we're trying to do is, when we're reading, we're trying to meditate on that for the rest of the day. So in that way, while you're doing some service, while you're talking to somebody else, you're also thinking about what you've read throughout the day. Maybe Rambaroom?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the whole point is what the brain is a computer, and whatever you put into it is going to come out of your mouth and your behaviors. So you start with putting thoughts in there, even if you don't understand them. A lot of the Srimad Bhagavatam, like this story of Varaha, everybody's like, well, I don't really get it. It's the really scary, monstery-like person coming out of somebody's nose. I mean, it's really hard with our mundane brain to figure it out. But I think putting all that information in, plus Prabhupada's purports, which I think is what really should be focusing on, because we don't really, it's just too beyond our material brain to grasp. It's the purports that are running through all of these books that we want to pay attention to. And just by reading, if you do not understand them, in time, as the heart gets purified, they will be revealed, the real meaning of all these books. I have a son who's now 37 years old, and he went to the Mayapur Gurukul and the Vrindavan Gurukul for a while. But then, when I went back to school 35 years later, he went to school also. and he got kind of confused. He'd never read Prabhupada's books, although he grew up in the movement, and so it was really interesting. He couldn't. Somehow he got interested as a teenager in trying to figure out what this Hare Krishna movement was that he was born into. And so he tried to read Prabhupada's books. He couldn't understand them at all. He thought, I don't get it. And so I encouraged him to listen to Prabhupada's lectures on an iPad, just hear them, even if he doesn't understand them. Yeah. And so he would, in the morning, when the alarm clock would go off, he would put his iPod on, go and brush his teeth, take a shower, drive to work or to school. And after 2 years of just hearing Prabhupada's sound vibration, that's how pure he is, without really understanding the words, all of a sudden he was able to understand it all. Wow. And now his services since, gosh, almost 10 years, he's on Santa Monica, which is like Gold Coast, singing kirtan virtually by himself with a mridanga, and he's got a whole pile of people dancing up and down with marachis. So, it's a sound vibration that has to purify the heart for the window or the veil to open up so that you really understand. But a lot of the Bhagavatam is it's embedded in a bigger text, like the Bhagavad Gita. To really understand the context, you need to read the Mahabharata first. I would be having people coming to the movement first read the Mahabharata, then you understand the whole storyline of the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, the backstory. But otherwise it doesn't make a lot of sense, if you're just reading one thing and then you're reading one thing. Yeah. It's tough.
About what you're saying about the mercy of the devotees, where if we want to give that mercy, if we're devotees, then we have to come from an authoritative point of view. So learning the Sanskrit gives it that authority, because Srila Prabhupada talks about is it logicians, people who talk from logic and they argue from that point of view, but all that takes is just someone to come on and give a different point of view. Yeah. That they go, oh, that sounds better, so we'll go with that. So I think learning the Sanskrit, and definitely what you were saying as well about it all going in, and but then when we're Ghosts and Anandis, we're meant to preach, so therefore preaching to people, that's Prabhupada's mission as well. So therefore to be able to give that, we have that authoritative point of view, I think, as well.
We have 5 minutes to breakfast. What is your takeaway today from this class? Any nugget of information you're taking out of here that was new? What's the takeaway? Just one thought. New insight. Did you get a new insight today?
Oh, just I like is it an analogy of the recipe and the system? Follow the recipe, and the richness of the information coming from the idea of that, like it's coming, the recipe is coming from the very top, and follow the recipe. And I've been one of those ones that have been doing bits and pieces, trying to cobble together some system of my own, and so thank you for that.
Another point is that we're not just following this randomly. This is an ancient lineage of people who have seen the truth, and they've had the same experience. If you read in the Bhagavatam all these different Mahajans, and they're like Prahlad Maharaj and Narada Muni and Dhruva Maharaj, all these stories, they're telling you of stories of people who have actually seen Krishna face to face, and you're looking at their lifestyle and what they did with their time, their words, and energy, and you're following that example. You're thinking, if you want to learn how to be a cook, well, you need to find a master cook and take like your granny, right? Well, there are many cooks, but if you want to learn any craft, you need to find the master of that craft. You can see because they they have done it, and then they can tell you how did I get there. And pretty much all of them, the Shapta Rishis, they're all Mahajans, they're all following the same path in different times and places. So I just wanted to say that.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for being
Prabhupada
patient.
ki
Srila Prabhupada ki
jai.
jai.